service. So 1 second, let me put the HP lighting on. There it is. And so in this document in a second, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to highlight all SBA loan options, but I'm going to start off with this 150,000 that again, it's based on your gross revenue. You don't have to have proper sufficient cash flow to service this debt. You can have just enough. You cannot have as much possibly and so forth. So let me get back into this document and I'll go through some things. So let me scroll down here. I'm going to go to the bottom and then I'm going to work my way up. So there's going to be numerous of SBA loan options. I may leave this document for you down below in the description. If not, it is okay. I'll also leave a questionnaire form for you down below in the description you can fill out, and you'll get a very personalized and customized email response from yours truly with a highly looked at way of what your best funding option and options. So you'll see similar things like this, but it'll be more customized to you. And I'll detail which is probably best suited for you. Perhaps there are some numbers that we can evaluate on and so forth. But this is the Bold SBA loan. You can also classify it as the Fast SBA loan. And we're going to go through this as you see on the screen here, and I'll move over some things. Best for a quick micro loan from $25,000 to $150,000 within 7 days. A lot of the time, within 7 to 14 days, a lot of the times it takes about 2 weeks. These can be up to 10-year terms with prime rates plus 3.75%. Let me pause right there very quickly. Prime rate right now being at around 8%, that can move up. We recently had an adjustment. So depending on our market, depending on inflation and quite a few things, then that number can go up. It may go down. But historically, from recently, it's been going up. And so you're seeing this trend. And if you want to get earlier in, right now is the time to do it before there's another spike in the prime rates. So right now at around 8% plus 3.75% or so. So you're seeing very simple math, 11.75% to start off with many of these. Behind, there was a little bit of time when they were a little bit less, but the numbers just keep increasing. But that's still a bargain at 10. Prime rates. I was going to say 10.5. That was previous for another one. But at prime rates plus 3.75%, that is huge. Just look at this as an alternative. Perhaps you're trying to get a cash advance, those merchant cash advances, those hybrid cash advances, those hybrid cash advance / term loans. They have their place. Not everybody will qualify for this, and I'll get into some of the qualifications here in a second. But it's a great alternative up to $150,000, even other SBA loan options if you do qualify for them. And I'll go into some of these other SBA 7A loans that are not the up to $150,000. So you'll want to stick with me until the very end of this. So let me go back into this document and detail a few things. So there are different customizable SBA 7A solutions with the partnership I have through Credit Bench, and there could be a variety of others in time that you'll know about. Well, you'll get an in-house approach from us and team of experts, and these are ideal for borrowers who have good personal and business credit scores. So what you see across the board with any SBA loans, normally they want good personal and business credit scores at least. Liquid business credit of 175. These are FICO SBSS scores if you're unfamiliar with. They'll do a credit worthiness check on the personal side as well as on the business. So for those of you who haven't established your business credit, and I don't mean just setting up a Dun & Bradstreet account, Experian, Equifax, is there anything actually reporting? A lot of you actually have to take the time to go through credit monitoring. Look at your business credit reports. You guys can go through somewhere like a NAV, for example. It's a great one that I use as well. But make sure you guys are monitoring not only your business, but your personal credit. It is huge. Every time I work with somebody to do an SBA loan, maybe you can see or can't see that score exactly, and the lenders have a different determination of it. But if you don't have any of these meat and potatoes to your business credit profile, let alone your personal credit profile, how do you expect for them to approve you? I've had some recent clients who are not getting these up to 150,000, but ones that were trying to get up to 5 million, between 200 to 5 million, or above 350 to 5 million, who were disapproved for many reasons. And that's probably insufficient collateral coverage. It could be the FICO SBSS score combination of it. I've seen that a lot of. It could be that there's not enough sufficient cash flow or there was not enough profitability. So with those different tiers of the SBA solution, those different SBA 7A loans, they work a little bit different than this one does. So let's go back into this. I'll go to the comments here soon. All information, again, will be down below in the bio, or excuse me, in the description. So best for working capital. That's only what it would be used for. Ideally, only used for, yes, working capital. And so a lot of you guys are in financial strain, and this is a great solution to help with that. As long, albeit you have all other information. But a lot of people come to me, they go, well, I have an expansion project. Yeah, I could work for those, growth and expansion. And I have inventory, some account receivable like that. It gets a little bit more muddier, and it may not work for those. For debt restructuring, debt consolidation, refinance, that may not work for this entirely, and it usually wouldn't. And there's another solution that I'm going to get into if you're looking to refinance any kind of debt, maybe purchase a business. I'll get into some of those things, but this is strictly used, primarily used for working capital reasons. So if you can't already qualify for the other ones, and you're in a situation where you go, I want to refinance this debt so I can all have it underneath one, consolidate things. And if it won't work because you're over leveraged, then you can't sufficiently service the debt. If we gave you more cash on top of what you already have to make payments on, that's another reason you can get declined. But take this as a grain of salt and you go, hey, I can have another solution on top of my advances. I might not be able to consolidate or refinance all of it or none of it exactly, but I have a 10-year amortized option as working capital now, and I can have this on hand. I have emergency funds for the next 6 months to a year, whenever that may be. So loan amounts, again, $25,000 to $150,000. Loan amount equals 30% of top line revenue up to $150,000. So the approval amounts are actually fairly generous. I wouldn't say it is like as much as you can get sometimes if you were to use revenue-based financing through bank statements. There's other ways of doing this, and I'm going to leave more information in the description, but I would get started with the questionnaire. And if you submitted that and I got back to you, that's one thing. And then two, if I haven't yet, I will. So look out for that. I'm catching up on plenty of them. Funding time within days, 7 days. It can take 7 to 14 days. I normally see 2 weeks, 10 to 14 day time frame. And also depends on when you submit the documentation, which I'll go over here shortly. Repayment terms up to 10 years are usually 10 years amortized. They're not these 4 to 24 months like you guys see with the advances. And I apologize if it's a bit dark. Let me see if this works. It only brings it in a little bit more. But these are more than just those 4 to 24 month advances / unsecured term loans that are really an advanced product, or the personal loans 1 to 5, maybe up to 7 years, or some of the express loans, or some other ones that are out there. There's plenty more I can highlight. Equipment financing, I can go on and on. Perhaps some real estate solutions, but this is for working capital. That's a different story. If you're looking for real estate financing too, I'll leave information down below. I do a lot of that as well. But this one here is a great solution. It could be on top of what you already have. And if you're trying to refinance, again, there's other solutions if you can qualify for those. But those other ones would require you to have sufficient cash flow, of course, profitability in the business, collateral in cases, of course, most of the time, and so forth. But this one doesn't require the majority of that. And so here, no prepayment penalty. Interest rate, Wall Street Journal prime rate. I always have people who come to me and go, I want 30 years, 25 years. This is working capital for one. It's not used for real estate, so we can't amortize it over 25 years. And this is the Wall Street Journal prime. This is not an ARM. So we don't look at it and classify like that, or a traditional mortgage. So these are normally around 8%. If the market were to adjust, you would see the different prime rate. And then an additional 3.75. So at most, you can see 11.75, give or take. And this is adjusted quarterly, I should say here. Usually you see in a quarterly adjustment. There might be a fixed at one point, but usually it's adjusted quarterly because of the market. Markets can fluctuate. Your own industry can fluctuate. So we have to make sure with our economy and with your exact industry that we're on top of things. And if the prime rates were to adjust, of course, we have to make an adjustment to things and make sure everything looks fine. No prepayment penalty, which is great, based on gross revenue. As I said in the beginning, I didn't say profitability. No, none of that strong cash flow. Like you have to have an EBITDA of this or debt service coverage ratio of a 1.25, 1.15. And if you don't have that, that's in a different level. Fewer fees, perhaps around 1,000 or so. That may be the case off the original loan amount or the funding loan amount, etc. No prepayment penalties, as I said, if you wanted to pay it early. Does not require profitability in your tax returns. This goes for all years. Normally, each business can get up to 3 bulk loans in a 12-month period. We submit it every 90 days. And I want to clarify that. If you're thinking you're going to get 150,000 after 90 days every single time, that's not the case. Or you got 75,000 once and then you got 150,000 the next time. It's usually up to 150,000 as much as you can get in total. So it's kind of like when you get an SBA standard up to 5 million, you have one for $1 million. Now you need another 3 million. Now you're at 4. You can only get another $1 million more, or however much you look at it and what you can qualify for. That's usually the case. And every 90 days, I would keep that with an asterisk. And it depends on your situation as well and where you are and how much you took. So we can look at it every 90 days. We can look at it every 6 months or however be it. But that's a cool thing about it. And in time, if you're trying to get those other SBA loans that are above this 350 to 5 million, you can't refinance that other debt. You can't refinance a bolt underneath another up to 350 up to 5 million. Usually that's not the case. So if you can get another one at a higher level and you meet the profitability and you meet the tax return requirements and all of this stuff that we're looking for, then okay, great. That's a great solution. Here, cannot have, it's normally at 35K, but cannot have 75K in revolving personal debt, more so around 35K is what we're looking at. We're trying to be as lenient as possible, but the more debt you get into on your personal side, and the more careful and cautious we need to be, because a lot of people don't make those payments on time. They don't pay fast enough. They're taking on more than they can. And if we're already adding on another amortized remittance schedule payment to it, or however they best see fit, then that can cause a lot of problems. And I can go deeper into each and every one of these points just so you guys know. No franchises yet. If you're a franchise or if you're looking to purchase a franchise, there are other options. I'll cover some of these here in a moment. Use a higher tier service like the up to 350,000 and up to 5 million for that. Usually 200 to 5 million is what they want to finance for a franchise acquisition, but we can also do somewhere between 25 to 350. It's just with these ones strictly used for working capital. No bankruptcy or foreclosures in the last 3 years normally applies to all of them. So I would say so the same unless anything were to change. No current legal proceedings, huge there. Minimum credit, 700 plus credit, experience, etc. So can be used for working capital only. To gain working capital, as I said, I put it in just 2 different ways. Everybody has a different definition of how they're going to use that working capital. Requirements, like I said earlier, 700 personal credit score, 2 years time in business. Okay, if you're a startup and you're watching this right now, I'll get into another startup with an SBA 7A. I won't cover all the startup SBA loan options. In fact, actually, what I'll do is after this document, I'll transition into another one, and I'm going to show you another one you may be able to pick up for free down below, and it'll detail this plus many, many more options. And it'll show you, okay. But the best place to begin with is that questionnaire if you haven't submitted it. So 2 years, normally time in business is what we want. 175 FICO SBSS business liquid credit score, no down payment and no collateral. Unlike the other SBA loan options, normally we factor that in towards the total project cost and the post-closing liquidity and upfront costs. 150,000 in annual gross revenue. Again, we're looking at that annual gross revenue. If you're interested in this, you can reply back. If there's an email that I sent you in with being interested and I can send you more information, I can submit this. I can speak it over with my lender, submit it to my lender what I have. I can collect documentation, or at another point, we will collect documentation. I'll have a credit-based usually application or where we're going through at that moment to get filled out, personal financial statements and those documents that are needed, such as personal financial statement from the SBA. I normally collect those all the time and I look through them many, many cases, and I usually evaluate those. The application that you'll know in time, the tax returns that I alluded to earlier, last 3 years of business tax returns, normally year-to-date profit and loss statement and balance sheets dated within the last 30 days, current business debt schedule, as I said, and then last 3 years of personal tax returns, or I didn't say this part, but I was alluding to the tax returns there. Last 3 years of personal tax returns for all owners with 20% plus ownership, personal financial statement, as I said, the PFS form, and that's the SBA form 413. And I won't get into all the technical numbers on this and all the jargon to it, but just know that this option is available and it is there. Let me look through a few of my other tabs before I transition over. Some of these you can't see. A little bit of it is confidential, as well as I've worked with a few clients on this just recently that I pulled up information from. But yeah, everything is there. No down payment and no collateral. We also have up to 350,000 from 25 to 350,000 with a different service. that is to be used for working capital and debt refinance. And if you can qualify, you can. And it's Wall Street prime rates plus 2.75 on those. The requirements for personal credit could be 650 and 2 years in business, no down payment and no collateral required for those purposes. Usually it isn't for when it's working capital related. And a 650. Other ones would require a 675. And sometimes they put a huger emphasis and say 650 is an entrance point, but with the cash flow and all of this, we would have wanted to see 680, 675. But 650 is an entrance point, and you will have to meet at that point the cash flow profitability. There's also the ones up to 5 million that we can work with business acquisitions, partner buyouts that result in 100% of the purchase of that buyout of that business. Ownership by purchaser, commercial real estate purchases, franchise financing, debt refinance, equipment purchases, ground up construction and renovation projects. Local market is preferred with this lender, but I have another one. Startup businesses less than 12 months in operation, local market preferred. So if those aren't the case, I have a few other lenders that we can associate with. So let me scroll up here. We're going to go to the top of this, and we're going to go through some of the other options. But there's also here a flash cap program that would require, as you see, less of a FICO SPSS score. Usually 675. I said 650, but normally it's 675 in this market. Working capital debt refinance, sometimes equipment purchases, we can factor that into the total of the working capital. But that's normally what you see there. And I'm going to scroll up here now, and we're going to go through from the top to the bottom. And I see comments. I'll go to you guys in a second. But before I do any of that, just like you guys, I run multiple businesses. I have one in the digital marketing lead generation space, digital marketing agency / lead generation that I've done for many years for businesses, helping them acquire more leads organically and inorganically through paid advertising methods. And I know how to give concrete marketing plans and so forth on how to tackle these things. And I've worked with a lot of business owners there. I have more of a do-it-yourself format, or do it with you, but more so do-it-yourself. I have certain material that I show you guys. I did it done for you for a while. And then I have affiliate marketing businesses, one in the health space, and I did a lot with vitamins and supplements. I know that world extremely well. And then I have a few other verticals in the affiliate space. Aside from that, I have a few other ventures. And then this is my primary focus as a business loan broker / agent / expert is really what it is, a business funding expert. I encompass all different services. I collect documentation. I know how to review it, analyze it, and know how to do numbers. I'm a math and systems guy first. And those industries, I learned a lot and what I still do there. And I come from an educational background. I went to school. I went for sociology. I was a Division I soccer player. And then I moved into chemical engineering shortly after because I wanted to test myself even more. And my mind works that way. I love calculus. My favorite class is chemistry. And I did very well. I was that guy in class, if you can imagine, helping everybody else out. I wasn't always the first one out on a test, but I could be. I just took more of my time. I was always revising, looking things over. I'm a Libra. I'm very cerebral, just meticulous about things. And I guess I can overthink a lot of things, which can be a good and bad thing at the same time. But a lot of this you want, and I'm introverted. So you want somebody who's going to take care of you instead of yapping. And just because they know their wording doesn't mean it makes them best, or they're the best communicator. I can communicate better now because I've learned these skills, but you have to be careful about the market and who you turn to. Just because somebody has 100,000 views versus this one that may not get that, or if it does, either way, I'm very greatly appreciative. I'm very humble, and I'm not looking at it on a vanity metric. I'm looking at it as an impact. I'm not looking at it as a monetary. I'm looking at it as the impact. I'm detached from the outcome, as you should be too. As a business owner, when you're trying to get funding, you're attached to that outcome, but you have to attach yourself to your bigger reason, which is your why. Why you and your business. The what and the how will take care of itself. But until you have the why, the fundamental pieces together, the character, the reputation, character matters tremendously. It'll make a big difference. Now, I'm going to get back into this document here in less than 15 seconds, but I went to school too, and I also worked in construction manufacturing for some time. I finally got in the financial logistics position, and I was in the field position in these. I was working the machines in manufacturing before I got to the cubicle space. Financial logistics company went down under. I was servicing HP for one of the biggest contracting companies, and Peace Health I was helping out as well, financial logistics. And I was already preparing, and that's how I got into my business. And my friend told me about the digital landscape, and I had to go back on unemployment benefits, food stamp cards. Unfortunately, that was a very bad time in my life. Younger 20s. Was I bad by any means? No, it just happens to us. this is the case. So I had to go back on that. Felt very embarrassed, and I felt like I couldn't provide, and I couldn't be there to step up for my family. And the littlest of things, just going out and having a meal with them and not wanting to have those thoughts. Why should I even be thinking that? And so I felt very bad at that point, and I knew I had to resurface, and this came about. So let me get back into this, and we'll close up here soon. So the SBA 7A option, another one, and that I've been working with a lot of people on is through like South End Capital, a division of Stearns Bank. And this is a great one. And of course, you guys just don't want to go do your research if you would like to. I have it all here. But the other thing too is be very careful of just going through the SBA.gov and just finding like you might not find a preferred lender, you may, and even if you do you know if they're the best suited for your specific niche? Like e-commerce niches, construction, manufacturing, retail, medical, all of these fields are different. And so if you're just applying and you're just trying to put your information out anywhere and everywhere, also be careful because they're going to bombard you, and you have to know what's up to date. You want to go through somebody you can establish that personal and business relationship with. Did I say just business? No, I said personal and business. Now, how much you open up and how much I do is another thing. And I'm like an onion. You got to peel me back a lot with that first layer. And I don't trust people easily, as I rightfully so shouldn't, because a lot of people from time to time prove to me, and specifically financing products, that they are not to be trusted. Now, many of you are, and many of you are loyal, respectful, accountable, responsible, allow for feedback, are open-minded and patient. But for those of you who are not, that's something that does need to get addressed first. So here, SBA 7A option with South End Capital, best with the SBA for non-startups. You want to have at least 2 years of recent profitability is best. And if not, we may be able to take a look as long as you have stronger cash flow. So the emphasis on this, as we're going away from that up to 150,000 that we spoke about earlier, and I'll leave information. Let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to leave my email for those of you who are new to me or haven't yet reached out. And if you have, I'll get back to you. But let me put this in the comment section. But here is my email. And what I'm also going to do in the meantime, and I'll jump back into this form. Apologize for going off on a tangent. This is important. I will leave my questionnaire down below in the description. I'll also leave you or in the comments as we speak, it'll be in the description as well. And I'll also put my real estate specific questionnaire. If it's a property, if it's a refinance situation, we need to factor in the rehab into the property costs and all that. So here, let me put that. So there's a couple of them. The first one is right here with the questionnaire form, as you see on screen. And then here is the real estate one, and I could have other ones too. You guys can go through with Viral Funding Solutions. So let me move that out of the way and continue forward. And so here, cash flow is an emphasis, but it may still be hard if you don't have that. Business credit established, and ideally 150,000 in annual gross revenue. But it's better to have above 200,000. But ideally, for these 200,000 to 5 million that are more of a standard SBA 7A loan that we're trying to focus on, the primary part of it, even though some of them can be a higher minimum requirement, is 400,000 to 500,000 plus an annual gross revenue. It would be better to have. But 200 to 250,000 is a great starting point, although it doesn't normally equate to approvals. It depends on other factors, of course, not just your annual gross revenue like the other one with the Bolt loan. Is what they would like to see, and to get somewhere between 200K to 5 million. Also, they would require usually a 10% down payment of the total amount you are borrowing. That's pretty standard of what you're going to see. Now it depends on if you're a startup or a non-startup, or what are you using the capital for. So if you're debt refinancing, consolidating, working capital, it may not require a down payment, or just strictly for debt refinancing, you're consolidating, it may not require usually a down payment for those. But for startups or franchise startups, less than 12 months preferred. Sometimes that criteria can change. Documents and information needed will be below, as well as with each one of these, as we're seeing, and how I'll ask for them. Keep scrolling down until you see the first blue hyperlink. If there, keep reading this part first, though. But you'll need an equity injection as a startup of 25 to 30%. And that's a steep hill for many of you to climb. You don't have the equity injection. Is it a gift? That's what we want to look at. It's not just a family member or friend just handing you the money. Is it a gift? Can we look at it like in terms of a letter? Can we see that it was sufficiently this? Can we see if the money was actually in the account? If you said you had that money, if we had to verify, like how long was that money in there, they might look at that. But like I said before, and while I didn't really say this part in the introduction, but it can, this was for a different topic, but it can vary on experience level. So experience level and equity injection, for those of you who are looking for an SBA 7A startup loan, it's very, very important. You don't have to have a previous business to be approved. You can work in management. Perhaps you're a supervisor, Perhaps you're a co-owner. Yeah, that's even better. Maybe you're the president. However, but we need to see that you have some relevant experience, because we're going to want to know, like every venture capitalist, it's a bit different with venture capitalists, but or angel investors as well, and or but we want to know who will be on your team. What's the product market fit? What's going to differentiate you from your competition, if anything? Where are you going to be located? What are your projections? What are your assumptions more than that? Because you don't always have the numbers concrete right now to look at those exact projections. But what are those assumptions? Hypothetical maxes, meaning if I'm starting a business and I'm going to generate 10 amount of clients at $1,000 a month service, what will then be my return on my investment? What will be my profits? What will be my exact sales? And these are things that I can work with you guys. And it's very important for you guys to understand the number side of your business. A lot of you guys neglect that. You get into business, I get it. I was the same way in the beginning for a little bit, and then I really turned around. But a lot of you get into business just trying to get the product out there. Hey, I'm just focused on getting 10 clients and keeping those clients. Well, what's my churn? Do you guys understand the numbers and what you guys can afford? What will be the lifetime value of a customer? Meaning, how much can you actually retain a customer for? What would it actually be the cost of somebody, hypothetically or accurately? And what would it be over an extended amount of time? And if you're saying I can only spend $3,500 now, and you say that's the only thing you can spend to acquire a customer, when you're capping out at that, you think you are, but there probably is a higher amount. It's probably like 7,700, and you're trying to go from 300,000 to $1 million, but you don't understand your numbers and how to scale that effectively. So those are things for another time. But having relevant experience, but it can vary on experience. I've seen 10%, but it's not always given because of experience, and more may not be there. So always expect a higher equity injection. Having relevant experience in that field, operating another business that's similar or not exactly, but in day-to-day operations and managing, we're going to want to know cash flow. Are you managing cash flow? What would the cash flow look like in time? And et cetera. That helps. There's more to this equation I can spend with in time. The credit requirements are generally high enough, though, like a 675, 670, 675 is what you see as a premise in this market. We can go under in some cases. Just depends on cash flow, profitability, credit requirements on the business, or some other things we got to look at. So if you have that and can provide a seasoned account as well, where the cash you'll be using to start the business, like a business checking, personal account. We like to see those kinds of things. Sometimes we say how much money has been stored in this account over the last 90 days, over the last 6 months. Sometimes we like to see 10 to 20,000, more or less, but it may not always be brought up. It's just something to know, because when we look for that personal financial statement, I look at them all the time and I know, okay, how much cash on hand? How much do you have in the banks? How much liquidity? How much equity? Do you have any real estate, automobiles? Okay, what does it cost? Stocks and bonds, real estate. Okay, got it. And so when I look at those numbers, I can determine a down payment. I can determine post-closing liquidity. I can determine if this will be enough to sufficiently service the debt on top of what else we can get you. And there's so much more. That way, it's not just showing as borrowed money in those cases. Rather, it's been stored in an account for about 3 months is what most lenders like to see. Or if it's a gift, how do we look at that transaction being sent over, et cetera. I'll show you the SBA 7 option below. That's that SBA 7A option below. But if you can't meet it for several reasons, we'd have to try a personal/startup loan. But they can go up to 500,000, up to 600,000. Even sometimes I've seen them go up to 700,000 and above in some cases. But again, your credit needs to be strong for this, a 675, but more so a 680 for those credit requirements if we're doing creative credit-based financing. And I'll try to jump on that at the end of this video. So please hang in there with me. I'll try to have this documentation down below. And if not, it's okay. I would start off with the questionnaire first to begin with. So before you read through the rest, keep in mind, and you can let me know after you are done with this email or however I transmitted this information over to you. Do you have equitable collateral? If so, what and how much? Do you have liquidity and post-closing liquidity? If so, how much? Factors into some of this as well. How much of a down payment can you provide? This goes in part with the equity injection in question 2 above, and how we format a term sheet and how we format the approvals and the post-closing parts. What relevant experience do you have, if any, or similar details? You can get an SBA 7A loan with a minimum FICO credit score of 675. Now, this is a whole different service. I won't spend a lot of time on. I could spend another hour's worth, but I'm not going to do this. And we haven't even got an hour's in. So I'm going to try to wrap this up here soon. But with South End Capital Division of Stearns Bank, it's an amazing one to go through. I have plenty of preferred lenders. So depending on your industry, depending on your requirements, things change. Boom. I got you. Don't worry about that. Let me take care of that for you so you can focus on your business. and you don't have to check in every second. I'm very transparent. I'm very loyal. You don't have to worry about none of that again. But I'm usually worried about the person I'm helping because I'm wondering, are they trustworthy? Are they loyal? Not with me. With me, you don't have to worry about none of that. I've worked on myself hard enough to know that when we go through a lot of this, it isn't me who gets in the way. It's usually the business owner that I see sabotaging themselves and not being responsible, and accountability. That adds up to not being responsive. Up to 25,000 for an express loan, or from 200,000 to 5 million financing sizes. Smaller loan sizes are available through our SBA Express program. Some of the details, I won't go through it all, but you see there, I'm going to quickly give you guys a glance, product service overview, what it would entail there with those services. Again, this was a video that was primarily focused on that up to 250,000 SBA loan service. I can spend another time on this, and I have video content that I've already produced on this. Commercial real estate, 51% owner occupied. What would be the rates determined on this? Some of this I got to adjust, so this would be 8%, and I can come back here and I still have to adjust a few things. So when available, not used for real estate investment purposes. Here are some qualifications for this one. No bankruptcies and foreclosures in the past 3 years, so similarly to what we saw with the boat loan. Have no outstanding collections, no open tax liens, no recent 30-plus day late payments. For cash flow, you must have sufficient business and personal cash flow to service all debt payments. So that is a disadvantage. If you're looking at getting approved and you're saying to yourself, well, I have these annual debt payments, and I can do all the math on that. You don't have to worry about it. When I see a debt schedule, when I look at a balance sheet and I look at the two and I see what lines up, what doesn't line up, certain fields should be, if not all of it. And then I look at profit and loss statements, and I'll look at those tax returns as well and determine net operating income. And I'll do a profitability assessment. I'll do a debt service coverage ratio, global debt service, personal debt service coverage ratio on the business and on the personal. And I'll come to an agreement, and I'll know what that actual number looks with EBITDA and what makes sense. So I won't go through all that right now, but here's the specific criteria. 2 years, as we saw recently in the other one. Owners must be a U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents. Your business must be located in the U.S. Your business must be open to all non-discriminatory basis. Businesses operating for profit, nonprofits can't work with this. Your business must be able to demonstrate repayment ability from earnings. Your business must not be involved in lending, investing in real estate, religion, politics, gambling, or sex-related industries. At least 51% of property square footage must be occupied and used by the business. Process flow. So I'll give you guys a quick overview. I won't go through each of this, and I'm going to wrap up here. We're 33 minutes in. Please give me at least another 5 to 10 minutes, please. If you guys are finding value from it, please let me know. Let me know if you've received an SBA loan in the past, an SBA 7A, an EIDL loan, 504 loan, and I'll leave more information, all this down below, as well as other alternatives like creative credit-based financing that I'm doing a lot of. If the SBA won't work, there's also creative credit-based, revenue-based, there's collateral-based. There's these three that I go through all the time. Cash flow, credit, or cash flow, income-based, revenue-based, credit-based. We can do creative credit-based, and that meaning personal/term and /installment loans. Personal, pretty much a term/installment loan there. And we can work on a personal line of credit, personal and or business credit cards. We can even do 0% interest for 6 to 18 months in business credit cards, multiple business credit cards we can stack on top of one another, free money. But you need to know at the end of the day how you're using this, good versus bad debt. But not only that, like, do you understand your numbers? Like, all of this, with me going through this, I can help you understand your numbers better. But as a business owner, you should really know this before you're looking for funding. A lot of people who go out there looking for money are just hopeful that they're going to get something amortized over 30 years like an EIDL loan, and it doesn't work. And they needed working capital reserves for another 2 years that they won't even touch, but they needed money now. But if they needed money now, what are they using it for? Okay, they have repairs, but they're going to add, they already have 50%, towards payroll, this other percent towards equipment. What are they doing? And once I understand the business better and what we need to trim, what we need to grow, this is how I evaluate businesses as well. If you're going to go purchase a business, you want to know how well it's cash flowing. Is it cash flowing at all? I'm not purchasing a business that isn't cash flowing enough. And it's going to be enough when I have to go get funding for it for an SBA. Like, I know my stuff now, and I'm here to help you guys with all of this. But every situation is different. Let me go back into this document and we'll close up here. We're rounding up. Step 1, pre-qualification. You will input your personal info along with loan info, such as the amount for a purchase or refinance. Depending on the type of use of funds, of course. That doesn't apply to everybody. Your business ownership info and property ownership information, financial section, collecting and this information. I won't go through it all, but that's for another service. Business plan, normally underneath 2 years, underneath 12 months, classified as a startup. And if there's a business plan, I'll show you those projections and assumptions on what you guys can do there in time. Borrower certification, individual business certification, things that will come up in documentation parts. So I kind of just detail there. Step 3, credit approval and appraisal takes place depending on what we're doing, of course. Environmental review, of course, on land and other things. Step 4, closing. I'll need business documentation, lease agreements, loan doc prep. And again, that's pertaining to what we need to gather. So if you're using it for different funds, it'll be a different scenario. So I just give you guys an example. So if it were $200,000 for this one, and you can kind of apply it to the last one, and best to start here, amortize over 10 years with prime rates plus 2.75. But this number would be adjusted. So with the 10.5 being different now, but this is something that we can kind of just look at and glance over and say, okay, the monthly payments, $2,698.70 or so. And again, this is without me readjusting some of the plus 2.75 on top of the 10.5. So it just depends. It will look different for each person, and it will factor in differently when we're going to close all this. Total interest paid, total financing cost, and so forth. And we have to factor again a few other things that will change those numbers. This is not set in stone. It just estimates what you can get, application, where to get started, documentation. Again, I may leave a PFS statement. I may tell you it's not attached to this email yet, or I'll tell you here, I've not attached to this email yet. And I'll tell you what I have, what I haven't. There's also another one here, the SBA 7A loan lender with Fallon Head. And this is just one of many, again, where we have now one up to 350,000 up to other ones that are up to 5 million. But I may tell you, please skip this. I may tell you they have one up to 150,000 or they don't. Things change from time to time, but I have the one that we spoke with in the very beginning of this. And this is through a non-bank direct commercial lender that specializes in SBA 7A 504 as well as others, and low LTV conventional loan programs. Benefits, I kind of go through that. So similar to what we've already seen, documentation, and I'll break down more of that, how to apply. I'll have different ways of doing it. SBA 7A loan option 3 or 4. I made some adjustments recently, so this could be a different number, but I may tell you to skip, or I may tell you that's the best one to approach. And again, I'll have some things that are more customized to you. I may not even have the please don't skip this part. I might just leave it like that. I might leave some of this out too. And I'll go into that up to 350,000, but minimum revenue requirements for that are 250,000. So it changes. And what it can't be used for is startup financing for that one, house flipping or real estate investment, refinancing personal debt at any point. Personal debt just can't be refinanced. Construction or remodeling, business acquisition, floor plan financing, delinquent tax payments. What industries are eligible? I kind of go into that already, but I'm not going to go through it all. General eligibility. And you see that there at a glance, credit for all borrowing parties. And usually we ask for separate PFS statements for more than one owner if necessary. In a lot of cases, you'll see that. And business credit score, liquid credit, 155 or greater. So this is less than the Bolt loan as we spoke about earlier. Public record search for business owners, no bankruptcy in the past 3 years, no foreclosure in the past 3 years, no open tax liens or outstanding judgments. Cash flow analysis will be done by myself and my team, yours truly. And I'll use these documents to calculate this 2 years of business and personal tax returns, year-to-date profit and loss and balance sheets, business debt schedule, and 6 most recent bank statements. So with the Bolt loan as well, and those faster 2 week or so loans, we may ask for all those bank statements, 6 months, 3 months, maybe even 12 months if necessary. But we can gather that at a next step if we don't have that initially. Loan proceeds cannot be used to refinance a short-term obligation created with the intent of refinancing it with an SBA 7A loan. We calculate global cash flow, for guarantors, recommended gross annual revenue income of 250,000. Information to gather, cash flow documents that I'll have forth, and you can send it to me in a zip file. You can send it to me through Google Drive, however you prefer to, and you download that as a zip file. Send it to me individually, but I always recommend having it in a file so I can have it all in one place instead of flipping through all emails. Barriers to fund, declining revenue trends and borrowing business or affiliates, unfiled tax returns, criminal records, businesses or guarantors that are mid-litigation, undisclosed debt, UCC liens, how to get started with that application, and then that Bolt SBA 7A loan. And we went through all this. Now let me flip through another tab. I'll flip over to another document in a second, And all again information will be down below in the description. Just give me a pause. Okay. So it looks like I did cover every point that I needed to. I was just making sure I had a few other tabs open to make sure I didn't miss any points. And if something does ever change, you'll know about it. And if that document is there or in the questionnaire that I'll have for you, you'll be able to have more details on how they work. So let me move this over to another tab. Oh, with down payments, if you're looking for an acquisition, normally 10%. We can see it depending 10 to 20%. And sometimes when you get another business after your first one, we may completely waive that 10%. So there are some quick pro things there, pro tips, if you can call it that. And there's more I can go deeper in that section. But if you're doing an acquisition, we can revisit those things. Now, let me put this tab on the screen here. One second. Yeah, and I mentioned this on the loan on the amount 30%. I just want to make sure I'm looking at my notes from my other one to make sure all of this. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my files here. Give me one moment. Now, this is the part I want to detail very quickly. I won't spend time on this too much, and then we'll get going. We're already 42 minutes in. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Here, this page may look different when you see it, but it says before you click through to the application, which we didn't go through a specific application for this. This is another video I made that pertains to this, so we can skip that part. Below are more and the up-to-date qualifications for revenue-based funding and more services like the online bank term loan that can take you to qualify. So here I'll detail the qualifications for revenue-based financing, and I won't go through it all for the purpose of this video. And as you scroll through this, you'll see that I have some examples there. Then I have the underwriting guidelines that are the best of the best. Here, down below this, one second, got restructuring option, self-employed, gig worker, 1099, Uber drivers, and many more. Online bank term loan, that may be where you need to start. I have a lot of people who I help, and it's not the bolt loan. It can't work or it can work. They don't have the sufficient credit score, or they don't meet the high enough FICO SPSS requirements, or they're somewhere in between. And so this you can get with 2 to 3 or 5 year, 2, 3, or 5-year repayment terms. Excuse me, so 2 to 3, but 2, 3, or 5-year repayment terms usually. Sometimes it can even be more, but that's normally what you see. The online bank term loan usually filing an LLC, a UCC lien, and normally we see these two as well on the business side too, on top of it being general. And we can put it on all business assets that we need to, and that's going to sufficiently push the deal to go through, and it needs to be done. But I detailed that there. If I scroll down here, the SBA 7 option that we went through, and the majority of that, I'm going to update this section too with a few things. But passing that, we have then the collateral backed. So equipment is right there, as we see. Business line of credit was just above this one. And I mean, there's more options, but I'll show you what's best, especially in that questionnaire. And then, but all this of what you're seeing is a big like document that's well put together, and this is stuff that normally you guys can't find online just by researching it. And things change. That's why it's important to know this. Asset backed or asset based collateral backed funding, and there's more options with CRE and or developable land where you would need to meet those requirements. I do a lot of asset backed, just in case you were wondering, credit based, revenue based, cash flow based. I do a lot of this real estate related. Cash out refinance option, which is huge for a lot of contractors, general contractors, subcontractors, however you have your business set up. And that's a great way of using money instead of going through a traditional merchant cash advance or a cash advance hybrid. They see these best fit if you have that. Personal slash business slash startup loan option. This is more credit based, and I said that right here. So we'll have those options. I'll tell you the first one is best or the second one is best because not every credit-based lender is created equally. And I'll outline and I'll detail things. You guys can't even find this stuff online, not because people, well, most of the time they don't know it. We're just trying to give you a brief overview. But once you really get in and you understand, you consult with me, or if it's not initially a phone call, doesn't always have to be. I don't think that's always going to be hey, that's the call. At some point, it may make sense, it may not make sense. And so 6% to 18% cost of capital, relatively low. 700 plus experience, but 680 is best, or is what we can look at, excuse me. And there's a few other factors that we have to look at. Zero time in business, 50,000 plus an annual revenue, taxes or pay stubs. Sometimes 35,000 is what we're looking for. And then soft pulls initially for approval, excuse me, once initial contracts are signed and all documents are collected, it's a hard pull to get you soft offers, and then to develop that into a hard offer, which then you can decide if you want to move forward. 1 to 2 weeks of funding, so somewhat like an SBA pool, but those take about 2 weeks, 7 to 14 days. You can see a lot of cases. And so soft pull is really low interest rates, longer terms, 1 to 5 years. The origination fee, I go into that 15%. I know it's quite high for those, but you have to understand that if you can walk into a bank, they might fund you for 10,000 as a personal loan or whatever. But over here, we got you between 50 to 100,000. So which one are you going to weigh better? And even if there's a fee to it, I go, well, if I can get 60,000 to 100,000 to begin with, and it's 15%, so be it. I'm going to take this, and if I can get more, great. Spread out my terms. So the opportunity cost of what you're foregoing is much greater. Be very honest with you, that's the case. And I've seen it a lot. And there's many more things. The amount of work that goes into a lot of this, you have to keep that into consideration. The amount of work we do, but max funding and more things, no collateral. I go into some of the credit requirements. I'm not going to cover all that right now. And then I might leave a second option that's best. We can do 0% interest or other factors as well, and so forth. So I'll show you that 0% interest. Your SBA microloans, SBA Community Advantage Program, harder to get, especially with FICO SBA scores. And a lot of the times you can see angel investors, equity crowdfunding options, venture capitalists, angel investors, private hedge funds. I can go on and on. Other options, margin accounts, financial guarantee bonds, fixed and increasing your FICO. If that's what you guys need to focus on, I'll leave my personal recommendation and business recommendation for that. I have that I'll leave down below in the description. Credit repair, and if this isn't there, I'll leave it all in the questionnaire for you guys. Credit repair, that's where I would focus on if you need to get your credit up. I'm working with a lot of people right now on their personal credit and in tandem with business credit and or. So you can work on the two together, and I would really advise doing that, working on the two if you can, because down the road when you're trying to get an SBA loan like those bulk loans, you'll be ready for it, and there won't be any surprises for it. And we're unsure. What if this program goes away and you didn't jump on top of it soon enough because you didn't work on your business credit? You're like, man, I've been so busy in my business that I forgot about getting these installment revolving and so much more that I'm making payments on net 22s, net 30s, net 60s, net 90s, or revolving credit, and the balance transfers over to another month. Like, you're forgetting to do these things. If you're interested in credit repair, I break down what it would cost, very cost effective, and the best of the best is what I've seen. Very cost effective as opposed to spending a lot of money with a lot of others, and cost totals, and just a few things. Bonus building business credit, my free business credit building video series is linked there. You can take a look at it. Business credit cards there. I'm going to add a section here where I recently put together a document for you guys on bad credits, business credit cards, even personal stuff. But home equity line of credit, home equity loan, 401k IRA financing, stocks, and more. And then EIDL latest updates, the employee retention credit, real estate submission form conclusion. There's more as a detail there, but that's also something to look at. And here's this one, just in case you were wondering what this is. This is the employee retention credit, where you can get up to 26,000 per employee and a refundable payroll tax credit. I won't go through all of this, but you see here on screen what it would detail. A lot of people are jumping on top of this like crazy. I'm helping out a lot right now in this more than anything. I'm doing all services, but this is one to jump on, and many people are as well. So I think I'm going to end the video here. Let me go to the comments 1 second. But this is the business funding questionnaire. This may look familiar to you. If you've already filled it out, great. If you haven't, this is where you want to start. And you can select from one of the two options. They may look different at time. You see that some of the results that I've helped out people with. There are plenty more, of course, but I'll leave it a handful there. And if you're a non-startup, free 6 learning checklist, this will be there. And be serious. I don't want you just coming to this page and glancing over this and just, okay, I'm going to fill out information all the time. No, you have the energy and time. Read this. I'm going to go through it right now. Complete the questionnaire form below. Get a personalized and customized email response for your best funding option and options from a real business home broker expert, somebody who cares about you as a person. I like that. I had a great phone call with somebody today from New York. If you know who you are, you know who you are. And they were able to intellectually break down their words and break down their sentence as well. and very high level of a call. Of course, it would have been much higher if we went in a different direction, spent more time on. He was very did was giving me feedback. He was patient about things, and he's somebody that you go above and beyond for. And those are the type of people that you see. It's the characters that we spoke about who he is, who I am, and where we've been, where he's been. And so it just depends on how much. You don't have to open up too much. It's okay with me. Again, I'm matured, and so those things happen. And so please don't be that person wasting my energy and time being hard to get a response slash feedback from. I spend a good amount of my energy and time on filling these out. Plus, get a free 6-step pre-pulling checklist to get you approved for funding moves faster without making mistakes. So I will have you submit this form. It'll take less than a minute, and you'll get to a thank you page. You can literally finish this in less than a minute and be somewhat accurate, give some estimates, be around the right range. But this is going to help me evaluate, analyze, and pre-underwrite these files that I know the best lenders and underwriters are looking for. And this is going to help us with a lot of energy and time instead of spending about an hour's worth every single day or with someone. And it's like, that's fine for a different time. It's just, you have to understand the positioning that I'm in too. You got to put yourself in my shoes, and you got to. Well, a lot of the times you got to meet me 80-20. So you got to meet me 80. I got to meet you 20. You got to meet me 90. I got to meet you 10, or you got to meet me 100%. Sometimes it's half. Not always is it half. But in this case, because I do a lot and I help out a lot of people, and I am remembering of who I'm helping. If I remember people too from who they are, I remember them in their business as well, and it's very important for me. And so here, the services that I offer, there's more of them that could look like this in time, but you'll submit it. It might be a thank you page video you can watch. I'll break down my processes, but I'll submit to you an email response back with your best funding option and options thoroughly broken down step by step. And I'll show you this like email that you're going to know how to navigate when you open it up. You're going to look through it. It's going to be very intellectually put together for you. It's going to be very systematically well put together of an email. It's going to navigate you through that, so you're not being too overwhelmed or overwhelmed at all. It might feel like that in the beginning, but you'll see it and you'll learn to be like, I see why he does it that way. So now let me go to the comments. 1 second. Yes, actually, hopefully you got that. I'm not sure if you're still in here, but I'm sure you already know about that service. And again, I'm going to leave more information for you and everybody. I'll work through email to begin with, Pedro. I know there's been a few occurrences where I haven't been able to get in contact with you, but let me look at things through email. I like to make sure that I have quote unquote these ducks in a row first. And the reason why I don't give everybody just a phone call, like you guys have to understand that that doesn't mean I'm a scam. Definitely not. It's sad that people have to associate that with me sometimes. That's because those are the people that don't know me. And so they've been following me for some time, and I get it. When you're in this space, finances, like even in other industries, you have to be cautious of the same way of people. But I won't be quick to say they're a scam. I'm going to be the one who's observing people. That's who I am. I'm an introvert who observes very. That's a gift that I have, and just observing a lot. But I'm going to go through emails first. You can send me another updated email. That's where I would begin first, so I can get a recap of things, and if necessary, then that. But that also makes sense for me to do because it's not only for everyone's time, but you just have to understand. And so that's something that I'm willing to look at, and I'll go over things. So, does anybody have any questions, anything else they would like to bring up before I close up here? I'll leave it open for 30 seconds, and I'll kind of just recap. You guys got to learn about this Bolt Fast SBA program up to 150,000 without collateral, no strict cash flow requirements, no strict profitability requirements. You could even be operating at a loss. We have an operating at a loss, but you could have an operation, but still get qualified. No collateral, no down payment. So that already checks the box off of the other SBA 7A options, where you don't have to provide all and so much more, maybe all this extra documentation with them. So you could begin here, and then later on, as you're growing your business, move into that. Or if you said, I already have that, and I get one of these, then we can visit that and try to do it. So all of these things said and done, you got to see all the other SBA 7A options. That document can be readjusted, can be changed. But sorry, I had and in time, you guys will be able to see more if anything does change to these or there's more that's added to. And then I showed you guys the other documents on all of the other options, SBA 7A included, but revenue-based, collateral-based, credit-based. And just know I'm running through these scenarios every single day with people. Do they have credit, cash flow, collateral? One of the three, two, all three. If none of them, we work on trade credit, establishing business credit, and we can also work in tandem with personal credit. And there's quite more things to go through. You are most welcome, Pedro. I appreciate you. Thank you. So I think that's where I do want to end it, guys. I know this was more spontaneous live, but thank you guys for joining me now as well as in the replay. Feel free to give me a hashtag live, depending on the time interval. If you did find value from it, please give it a thumbs up. You can share it with others who you think will find value from it. It can be a complete stranger, friend, or family member. And one last thing before I say the next part. And I'm looking through my tabs to make sure I didn't miss anything. Tax returns with greater SBA 7A. I covered somewhat of that. Stronger needs for funds. Okay, covered that. So let me make sure I'm looking through my tabs. Okay, that was just my lender sending me an email. So I had to make sure I checked that email, and this would have probably been able to help me give you more information, but we're at the start stages with another client right now. And here, see this. Okay, so that'll cover everything from now. When we get through the process of these, you'll understand it better if I didn't already tell you before. Usually I give you everything you needed to, but there's something that doesn't that needs to change in this industry very quite that you will be made well aware of it, whether we've already gotten into the application or just before it. But here I'm looking through all my other tabs to make sure there's my real estate form. I didn't show you guys this. Let me show you this. So there is that real estate form. This might look different in time. I'm going to make some adjustments when I get the time to do it. But it looks like that. Property address, property type. If purchase, what is the purchase price down payment available? If refinance, what is your estimated value and what is the amount that's owed? Closing under entity, which is here, we can do sole proprietors and so forth, or personal name, amount of liquid assets available, huge. How many investment properties have been owned by the borrowers in the last 36 months? Huge. What is your estimated credit score? Is the property generating income, rated term expectations, your name, email, phone number, additional notes, or describe your request field? So it'll look like that. I also have this part I want to show you guys with my site. It's pretty cool, but I wouldn't get here now that you guys know the questionnaire is there. I would start with these questionnaires that I showed you just recently, but here is the page. Go down, have some adjustments in time, and why or what is viral funding solutions will save you a lot of energy and time. And let me quickly wrap this up by going through this, and I wanted to do this. So here we save you a lot of energy and time and money, especially the pain of sifting through endless business funding solutions, such as these online marketplaces that don't always give you a clear picture and proper breakdown of your best option and options, and show you everything you need to know before walking into an application with 100, and I should say 110% confidence and certainty that you won't only get approved or not just pre-approved, but an approval, but be satisfied with what you are getting, at least to start with, and to give you the most legitimate and helpful source of programs and lenders so you can have a safe, secure, and hassle-free application process from the very beginning without even getting started yet through the very end and post. You have that with me. I won't leave you there unless you don't want any more help. You're like, let this guy go away. I'm there. I'm not going to pester you. I don't do none of that. I can check in from time to time, see how things are going with the funding within your business. Hey, we can work on this next part. Now we work up towards an SBA if we had it already, or we work backwards from that. Where do we move next? And so we have a safe and secure and hassle-free application process with an expert loan broker slash agent like myself, business funding expert, and I put my name there. You'll get a more personalized and customized response with what's best for you once and for all. And that six-step pre-approved lending checklist is there. The step-by-step process on how it works. You can see that. And then why work with us? An external tab, and I'll show you how it looks like right here. 4 reasons and so forth. The experience that comes with this. You also have the versatility, the integrity, and above all of it is the loyalty. I could have added a lot more, but loyalty is at the front and center of what I/we do, and you're the one who I wanna care for in this process. Myself, I have to, of course, so I can take care of you. You gotta take care of yourself first before you take care of anybody else, and even going through the toughest of times and so forth. So the parts are there that I've mentioned. Now let me close up here by saying, appreciate you guys. Thank you once again, and if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so, and click that bell notification icon to not miss any future content. Crap, I'm still going like this, like, listen more. And so you did not miss any future content. So yeah, sometimes that can be quirky like that. Chemistry class, but that sounds like and so please click that bell notification icon so you do not miss any future content I'll be coming out with. And like always, on to the next one. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.